But Professor McCanney, thank you so very much for joining us today. What is going on, sir, that has alarmed you enough that we need to talk about?
Joyce, this is actually astronomically a major event. Yesterday, between the 13th and 14th, actually Wednesday to Thursday, Comet Ison multiplied 6 times in size and brightness. And it's something I predicted when the Comet Ison was first announced. I did an analysis. I said on October 1st it would react with Mars, which it did. When it reacted with Mars, it grew a spike. It turned green from a white comet to a green comet, indicating a tremendous amount of electrical energy passing through the comet. And the planet Mars went comet. In other words, Mars for a couple of days developed a comet coma. All of those things I predicted now. November 13th and 14th, I said Comet Ison will interact with the planet Mercury and grow in size and energy, which it did. It turned blue from a green to a hotter blue, and it went 6 times, 2 orders of magnitude in brightness in one night.
Okay, so now I remember you're telling us
incredible.
that. Yeah, I remember you telling us that at the time that it was going to go comet, and you predicted it very accurately. Now, let me ask you this, though. Why or how did you know that that was going to take place?
Well, Comet in a direct path towards the sun, which means it's cutting through the gradient of the electric field. It's part of my theoretical work. But also on the 13th and 14th, Mercury, which moves very rapidly in its orbit, it moves, I could see was going to move right in front, directly in front of the comet. And so this gives it a much bigger electrical path towards the sun. And that's, it's part of my work. It's what I can see in the future. It's not like I have a crystal ball and I pick a date and magically it happens. This is all physics. Also, there's another little comet which assisted Comet 2P Yankee, and so this triple combination, 2 comets in a planet, was enough to kick off Comet Ison. It developed 2 tails instead of 1. It turned bluish rather than green, so it's much hotter, and it expanded 2 orders of magnitude, or 6 times the physical size and brightness. So when I predict these things, it's because I can see these alignments, these electrical conditions, because that's what my work predicts. And, of course, NASA said they have no idea why it happened. It's actually getting a bit old. NASA gets all this money. NASA has 60 instruments trained on Comet Ison. And on the official Comet Ison page of NASA, they're showing amateur photos. Out-of-focus amateur photos. And
really?
It's so disgusting. Yeah, this is beyond criminal. NASA, these guys should be, Kerry List, Michael Numa, his mentor, and all those people should be just dragged out and put on the street and here, walk away, go away. You are worthless. Get out of here. And let some people into Goddard, into JPL, Don Yeoman, all those people got to go. This dirty snowball baloney, they're protecting it. They have a bunch of mouthpiece websites out there like spaceweather.com and other amateur organizations that protect the holy grail of NASA. But let's face it, that dirty snowball comet model is dead. It doesn't work.
Okay, let me ask you this, though.
They have no idea what's going on.
Let me ask you, is NASA really that stupid and they can't figure it out and they can't figure out how to get clear pictures? Or are they doing that by design and presenting that to the public and then they really know what's going on? Which way is it?
There's a couple answers. Of all the people that you hear from now are Tier 2 scientists. These are the people that are protecting the holy grail, so to speak. And NASA put a special web page up just for Comet Ison, just to promote misinformation to the public. And so at the Tier 1 layer of science, which is really the military, they know I'm right, because I talk to those people. They know very well that I'm right about what I'm doing. But the Tier 2 layer, that's the layer that is to promote this bland science. Nothing changes in the universe. Everything happened 4.5 billion years ago. And the reason for that is because they're in cahoots, not the astronomers. They're just pawns in the field. But the real issue here is energy, because the other thing I've identified is that there's a tremendous amount of electrical energy passing by Earth every day, just like in Comet Ison. Earth is discharging this solar capacitor, and we can tap into that for our energy needs, all our energy needs. We don't need nuclear. I know you have a guest coming up to talk about Fukushima, and it's one of my hot buttons, too, as a physicist. What an absurd situation. We are depending on nuclear, coal, and oil for our energy. We're burning nuclear fuel. The waste, it's just an absolute disaster, ecological disaster. Oil is a disaster. Coal is a disaster. All of these are disasters, and we never, ever needed any of this. So that's the other issue here.
Okay, let me ask you some questions.
We can develop electrical energy. Go ahead.
Yes. Let me ask you some questions regarding Comet Ison. The very fact that it went 6 times larger, what does that mean to us that don't understand all of this? I mean, is that something to be concerned about? Does that mean anything? Or is it just a pretty blip in the sky?
It's far electrically aligned with Earth at all, but it also started interacting with the sun, and this is something I predicted too. The sun has 3 big families of sunspots right now, and they're starting to interact with the comet, because that interaction with Mercury was the final thing that connected Ison into the sun. And so now we're going to start to get some solar flaring. Some of that could affect Earth. We'll have to wait and see on a day-to-day basis. But this is what I predicted, that the Tier 1 scientists knew this was coming, and this is what they needed for a false flag power outage event. That's why this NERC operation was in November. That's why Obama, and of course these people don't know this, but from the top down, the people that operate this planet know that what they need is a power outage to bring the United States down to its knees and shut off and bring in a new banking system, etc. So this is something.
Okay, but it didn't happen. So
for quite a while.
What can we expect from this point on? All right, we got to go to a break. We got a 4-minute break. We'll be back with Professor McCanney. What can we expect from this 6-tier blue Ison? 6 times blue Ison. We'll be back. Welcome back to Power Hour. Yes, we want some truth, and we have Professor James McCanney joining us today to find out what that truth is. Professor McCanney, you are so well respected, and certainly by our Power Hour listeners. But what does this mean for those of us who don't understand that Comet Ison became 6 times as large and also changed to a blue color? Tell us the implications for us here on Earth for that happening.
First of all, it proved concepts that I've been promoting for decades and decades, my plasma discharge comet model, but it's a much bigger issue. That's just a small piece. The sun is very energetic. The sun is putting out an excess current of protons. What does that mean to the average person on the street? That means we live in a giant electric field in outer space, and we can tap into that. We know how to tap into that to derive energy. Wind is a direct result of that. One of my current projects is on a very efficient, high power wind generator. It's something that'll replace, one system will replace a single nuclear generator. And we can build these for very low cost. What this means is we can produce the energy that we need with the electricity that's in outer space, that's coming down to the surface of the Earth in many forms. In weather, I've said that hurricanes and like the typhoon in Southeast Asia are formed because of electrical currents that come down from the ionosphere. They're not formed because of warm water. All of...
Oh, bummer. Bummer, John. We need to get him back. I don't know what happened. That's not good. All right, we're going to see what we can do to get him back. I don't know why this happens. This is so bizarre.
There's too much truth.
Too much truth, do you think? Well, so what are we looking at here as a result of that? What are we looking at?
Comets are just balls of ice, flying through space.
Well, they are?
I would say no.
No, I mean, he says that dirty snowball thing is not
right,
true.
Absolutely not. And there was an author, a researcher named Emmanuel Velikovsky, who spoke about these things and looked through ancient texts and historical texts to find examples of electrical interaction between comets and planets and Earth, and the catastrophes of it. He was a catastrophist, I believe, is what you would call him. Believing that things have not just gone on normal for a long time. There have been these great catastrophes in the past, and it caused big Earth changes when they happen.
So what does this mean to us, though? I still don't understand what this means to us. Well, increased electrical activity, I understand that. Okay, we've got Professor McCanney back. We were talking about what does that mean to us. So, I mean, increased electrical activity, we can understand that, but how does that relate to our daily life? Should we expect more power outages, a CME, EMP? I mean, what should we be expecting from all of this?
Last Friday, November 15th, they pulled the power in London, and they called it a power cut, not a power outage. They obviously knew that someone was at the master control pulling the power. 250,000 Londoners stuck in subways during rush hour traffic going home, as reported in the Daily Mail from London. But the issue here is Janet Napolitano, Trent Lott, all of these people high up in our government. Obama is getting his executive orders in line to basically to take control of this country, and it's going to be based on a power outage. It's the only way they can shut down the entire country and then bring in really the new world order. I'm not predicting this. I'm taking the words of Janet Napolitano, Trent Lott, other people in government who are obviously pushing this country towards a power outage. The NERC exercise the last 2 days was simply another step towards that direction, to where Homeland Security, the FBI, federal agencies are going to become involved in a power outage. And this is to control the public. The NERC operation wasn't to prep the energy industry. It was to get the government agencies ready to control the public when they pull the power outage. And they're going to try and point towards the sun and say the sun did it so that everybody thinks it was an act of God, when really they're going to wait for a solar flare to come out and say that's the one that did it, and then pull the power grid. This is in the cards. This has been going on. I started talking about this a couple years ago. But the other point I was making before I got cut off is that the energy, for example, for Typhoon Ison, that's coming down from the ionosphere. This weather concept that they're promoting, that these hurricanes and typhoons are caused by warm weather, is ludicrous.
Okay, we got to go to this 3-minute break. We will be back with Professor McCanney, and I'm going to ask him, was Ison a created event, created typhoon? And was this done to eradicate all those poor people in tents? Okay, we're talking with Professor McCanney today, James McCanney, and jmccanny.com, jmccanny.com. And I would encourage you to go to the email blast, get all the information that Catherine's going to put in there for you, pass it on to other people. Now, real quickly, because I've got a lot of questions that are coming in on the email now, but James, what does this mean to us? Does this mean that we're going to have a probable power outage? Does this mean it may happen within the next 5 or 10 years? What?
I have a question.
Okay.
Have you obviously know Emmanuel Velikovsky's work and his books about the catastrophes that have gone on in the past?
Obviously, yes.
Yeah, could we see those types of events from interaction between this comet and Earth? Is it a possibility, at least?
No. Comet Ison, well, there's an event I predicted on January 14th. Comet Ison will be up and above us, very far away, but there's an electrical alignment: Jupiter, Comet Ison, Earth, our new moon, and Venus. It's a cross-solar system electrical condition, and we could see some, if at that point Ison is connected into the sulfur dioxide of Jupiter, that could actually connect into Earth, and we could see some red rain coming into the upper atmosphere. But it's not something that's going to kill anybody. Comet Ison is not a physical danger to Earth, nothing like Velikovsky's story. Planet X objects, there are many of them out there, and Those we got to look at on a case-by-case basis. There's a tremendous amount of misinformation, both about Velikovsky and about Planet X and those type of conditions in the solar system. But right now, we're not in imminent danger of a Planet X object, and it's certainly not Ison.
Okay, and here's another question for you. Well, excellent question here. That the Vatican is looking at, or has the most sophisticated telescope in the world, and the Vatican has what's called Lucifer. Are you ready for this? Large binocular telescope, near-infrared utility with camera and integral field unit for extragalactic research. Just happens to come out to be Lucifer. How convenient. Anyway, your response to what that means, because the question from the listener is, ask him why the Vatican has one of these most sophisticated telescopes in the world, and what are they watching?
Yeah, I'm one of the first people that I did the first Vatican telescope in Arizona because I knew the astronomers that were working there, many of them from the University of Minnesota. But the telescopes, they talk about that, but the telescopes, the main reason for these telescopes is to observe comets. When Comet Hale-Bopp came in, the Vatican funded a big telescope in Arizona, staffed it with professional astronomers, and it was a very specific design of telescope to view comets, not galaxies far away. They are very interested in comets, and they know that they're not dirty snowballs. So there's a large, I could go for about 2 or 3 hours talking about the connections between the Vatican and NASA and Tier 1 science, etc. Because these, remember that when you talk about the Vatican, we're talking about the Rothschild banking network, the worldwide banking network. That's what Rothschilds means. It's the red shield. They got their start in the Middle Ages by becoming the banker of the Vatican, and then started loaning this money out and started controlling governments and marriages between international powers and starting wars, and the list goes on through history. But anyway, the idea that they have a telescope called Lucifer, yeah, that's very strange. But believe me, they're not looking at galaxies at the far edge of the universe. They're looking at comets. They're looking for objects, infrared. When the big comets first come into the solar system, they are a big infrared blob. They're very difficult to see. And so this equipment is designed for that. What they tell the public and what they're doing are two different things.
All right, so they are really looking for comets. Are they thinking that one might hit us? I mean, I have another question here, which is, how soon will the comet become visible? Jerry wants to know that. How soon will the comet become invisible? Does it have friends following along with it? And since Mars affected its orbit, could it hit us? No. Comet is on its correct path, the original path. Mars does not affect its orbit. It does not have a family of other objects. Comet Ison is a small comet. It's a very energetic comet, but it's a small comet. It's a single nucleus. It doesn't have companions. That was some misinformation that came out of NASA early in the history of our knowing about Comet Ison after the September 21st, 2012 announcement. But no, there are no companions. And Comet Ison, all of this you read on YouTube is a lot of baloney. Stay away from YouTube. You're listening to too many YouTube videos. But the end result is the Vatican is very interested in comets because they know that is what big objects coming in. There's a historical, in the Bible, wormwood is a historical name referring to a big planet that comes in and ravages Earth. But what I found out is there's many, many. NASA has search programs that they're looking for these objects. Up to a number of years ago, they found 40, and then about 6 months later, they had over 1,000. They stopped announcing these. NASA has huge data banks on planets that are orbiting our sun that are out farther beyond the orbit of Pluto, and none of this data is public. That's one of the criminal aspects of NASA. We've paid for all this equipment,
And as I said, this is the Tier 1 layer of NASA. This isn't the people you see at Goddard or JPL. That's the Tier 2 baloney that they want to pawn off on the public. And then all of the YouTube misinformation is also set up to misguide the public and throw all kind of curveballs so the general public doesn't really get a good story on what's going on. That's why I told people if you want to know what's going on, listen to my radio shows, listen to my interviews on shows like Joyce Riley, and forget YouTube and all this baloney that's being put out there to distract and put the public's mind off in some place where nothing's going on. And see, the other thing is that allows these Tier 2 NASA scientists to go, oh, look at all that ridiculous Planet X stuff over there, because you got crazy ladies that talk to aliens. You got everything in the world in that mix. So it's easy for them to try and pack my work with that and say, look at all those crazy Planet X people. That's what this is all about. It's misinformation to just distract and promote misinformation to the public.
Okay, let me just address that, because let me address that issue right there, the misinformation of the public, because you have been accused of doing the very same thing, that there really is Planet X, it's going to hit us and it's going to kill all of us, and you're keeping that information from us. I'd like for you to address that once and for all, please.
Oh, that's absurd. I've always been a scientist. My track record is clear. I've published my bio on my webpage, where I've worked, what I've done in my life, and I've never worked under government contracts. People that are saying that don't even know me, weren't even born, many of them, when I was doing my work at Cornell. The end result is that there are many people out there that every day, every comet, Comet Ison is Planet X. Comet Elenin was Planet X. Every comet is Planet X, and it's going to kill us. And what I'm trying to do is bring balanced reporting. And so there's people that are fear-mongers. They try and get attention by saying, oh, Planet X is behind the sun, so we can't see it now. All of this is from people that have no idea what they're talking about. They're just trying to gain attention. And then when I try and come out with the correct story and tell people what's really going on, then, McCanney's against getting the word out. There are people that every day they have another story about Planet X, and they're not helping anything. They're not helping the discussion regarding Planet X. What they're doing is crying wolf. I don't have to explain that story. That's what they're doing, and it really helps. All the people are going, hey, yeah, you predicted last week Planet X, and then that Comet Elenin was Planet X and was supposed to destroy the world, and it didn't. But you have to understand that a lot of these people are in mind control programs, I found out, and they're being controlled. They have handlers. They have people that are controlling them and egging them on, and get out there and get the word out that you're really doing important work. And what they're doing is destroying the whole concept that I've been trying to lay the foundation for the true nature, the electrical nature of the solar system. There are opportunists who have come in trying to copy my work, trying to copy my terminology, people that call themselves the electric universe. That's a term I coined decades ago and promoted, and then when it becomes popular, the people come riding in to try and write books and get a profit out of it. This is what's going on. It's insane out here.
Okay, and I want to say, there's some good stuff on YouTube. Those kitty videos are really nice. So, I mean, there's some good stuff on YouTube. So just use your discernment, ladies and gentlemen. But the people, though, who are trying to attack you have the least amount of education and background that I've ever seen, but yet they think that, armchair, commandos can, Anyway, I just want to dismiss that whole thing. We also have people that say that, Stan Deyo knows a lot more than he's saying, and he is hiding information from us. I don't think so. I really don't. Okay, let me move to the question, though, of the Typhoon Haiyan. What was do you think the genesis of that typhoon? Was it created and agendized, modified, or was it God getting back at us?
There again, I had absolute direct information that storm was manipulated. I can't really say it. all storms have the potential to be manipulated or increased in energy. And I don't have equipment out in the Pacific there. All of these storms, whether they're manipulated or not, have a lot of the same signatures of energy coming down from the ionosphere. And so it's very difficult to tell. There were many cases where we saw the laser effects of laser beams dragging hurricanes around, like the ones in Florida or the ones that five of them went over Cuba one year. You can see the effects in the satellite images, but on this one, Haiyan, I couldn't really detect the lasers dragging it over there and increasing its energy. So it may have been a natural storm. I don't know. I can't say it was, and I can't say it wasn't. I don't have sound information, real data that I could say one way or the other.
Okay.
But it was a very devastating storm. We actually saw storms with more energy back in the 90s. When Hale-Bopp was in the solar system, we had a typhoon with over 300-mile-an-hour winds. So this was not the biggest typhoon on record, as they reported.
Now, let me ask you, there are... they're very fortunate that it only hits the poor people. You notice that these storms never really take down all those mansions or all of the elites areas. They seem to hit a group of people that, well, hey, they're out of the way now and we don't have to look at the mess they created. I mean, isn't that sad? Because it's looking so obvious at this point.
If you look, Joyce, at Katrina in New Orleans, it was, as far as I'm concerned, it was ethnic cleansing.
Yes, absolutely.
And very much a controlled storm. The oil futures were already betting on it hitting New Orleans when Katrina was still way out in the Atlantic. They all knew that thing was going right into New Orleans. And they were even saying that. Well, no, you can't predict a storm like that way out in the Atlantic, that it's going to hit New Orleans. And it came out and came south, and it took a beeline straight north and hit New Orleans, and it just wiped out all those lower wards. I used to live in New Orleans. I went to Tulane University for 2 years, so I'm very familiar with New Orleans. And it just wiped out all the poor people and all of the government agencies there, keeping the people from going back in. That was ethnic cleansing, and this storm very well could have been the same, getting ready for some nice resorts to come in and populate the Philippines. So I can't really say, but it looks, like you say, it looks rather more than suspicious.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let me open up the phone lines real quickly here to get a couple of phone calls in from those that really are interested and know something about the subject. I don't want any beginners on this because I want to spend the time on something that is more advanced, and perhaps you can ask the right question that I'm not asking to James McCanney. So get your phone call in, and we'll take it after the break at 855-995-6923, 855-995-6923. Let me ask you what you foresee over the next maybe 3 to 6 months. Are we going to be experiencing more outages, more weather problems, more impact from Comet Ison?
The Comet Ison, I don't believe, is really going to affect Earth directly that much, even with solar flaring that's going to occur. I mean, it could happen, and we'll have to watch that on an individual basis. But I think more than that, the flares are going to be used for a false flag power outage. And if you look at the world situation, the world bankers have to pull the plug soon because they're losing control. And little Obama in the White House is not helping them at all. He's not getting their agenda in place like the Clintons and the Bushes did before. So they have to, if they're going to pull the plug, they have to do it, and then little Obama can pretend like he's the emperor in charge, Emperor Maximus
yes.
Obama.
Barry Soetoro et al., whatever. We'll be back after this 3-minute break. We'll take your phone calls. Those of you who know what's going on with this and have some educated questions at 855-995-6923. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us, caring about your world. We got a lot of callers here that want to talk to our guest today, James McCanney. And then we're going to have Helen Caldicott, Dr. Helen Caldicott, join us in the next hour. Let's go to Lee in Oklahoma. Lee, your question or comment for Professor McCanney.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Joyce. Hey, James, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think it was your website that I watched two comets hit the sun. I think it was early this year, maybe last year. One of them ricocheted off of it, which was quite a sight. The other one went clean through the sun and came out the backside, bigger than it was when it went in. Was that your website that I saw those on?
Very likely. The second one's like Comet Lovejoy, which everybody, all of the standard science said it would die when it hit the sun, and it came around and became much bigger when it came out. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, yeah, that's normal. Yeah, we expected that.
Really? I mean, a comet went through the sun? Yeah. Are you serious? Really?
Yeah. And all of the NASA standard science press before that said, yeah, we're going to see this comet disintegrate when it hits the sun. It goes right through the solar atmosphere, comes out the other side, and then people actually saw the nucleus with the naked eye on the street from Earth. They saw it in the early morning sun. They saw the nucleus, and it was bigger than the planet Mercury. NASA says it's 200 meters across. And then after it got out away from the sun a ways, it starts becoming a comet again. And NASA goes, oh, what a surprise. We don't know what happened. Now they're pretending like, oh, yeah, that's the way comets act. It's so ridiculous. But
wow.
That is Comet Lovejoy. In fact, Comet Lovejoy is visible up around the Big Dipper right now, and with the naked eye, it's still visible.
All right. Thank you very much, Lee in Oklahoma. Good question. Dave in New York, you're on the air with Professor McCanney. Go ahead, please, Dave.
Hi, James. Our local Joyce Riley Melody Burns on a local station here near Albany, New York, was the only one I found that she's like a bulldog, almost as bad as Joyce is sometimes. But anyway, she found out that, before it happened or whatever, the November 13th GridEx was all going to be email play between different agencies. And, the problem with that is, why was it so secretive in the first place? If it's just an email type, coordination between the different groups, the power grid and, whoever.
Would they even announce it? Yeah, but it's like, it was, the real thing is it was all about government agencies, the Homeland Security, 150 government agencies involved. And this was about the government agencies preparing for a power outage, so everything was ready. So when there is a power outage, they can control the public. They have everything in place. And so they have power, but you don't. You're going to see that, because all of these agencies depend on satellite communication and GPS and every other thing on the planet that's electric. So they need their electricity, but you're not going to have any. But the GridEx 2 exercise, that's what it was about. It wasn't about the power companies getting ready to recover. Recovery is not the issue. And we're going to have a giant mess because, like I said, we've seen in many other places in the world recently where they pulled major power outages. Back in California 2 days ago, had a power outage. 100,000 people affected.
Yeah, and Alaska had one also that we found out about. Larry sent us the information on. We'll be back after this 1 minute, 10-second break. Stay tuned to the Power Hour. Don in Missouri, you're up next, talking with Professor James McCanney. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Caring about your world and wanting to know what the heck is going on and wanting to get the good information. Let's go back to Professor McCanney and Don in Missouri, because we have Dr. Helen Caldicott coming up next. Don in Missouri, you are on. Go ahead, please, with Professor McCanney.
Oh, hi, Joyce. Professor
Hi there.
McCanney. I have a question on the electrical nature and how to harvest that. Could you give us an idea roughly, would it take a Manhattan Project, or could private companies start harvesting this electricity? How would it be done, roughly?
Yeah, private companies could do it. I started a project a number of years ago to build a Tesla tower. Now, Tesla was gathering electricity from the upper ionosphere. He did not know where it was coming from, but he knew about the vertical electric field. They shut him down and then created a myth that he was trying to broadcast energy, which was totally ridiculous. That's one way. The other way is with wind power. Wind is a direct result of electrical energy from the ionosphere and from outer space. And but what we have are three-blade systems that are totally inefficient. It's a huge waste of money. I have a number of radio shows I did, specials, one on Coast to Coast one night with George Norrie, and I was talking about the myth of alternative energy, how they pump money into projects that are designed to fail. And that is the wind is projects, the three-blade wind generators are the most inefficient thing you've ever seen. They don't produce any electricity at all, and they're sucking up all of the environmental investments into alternative energy, and that's being done on purpose to make people think that something's going to happen, but really not. So what I have is a very high-efficiency, large-scale wind generator system that I'll be demonstrating here soon. And what it does, it's very high efficiency. One large system will replace a single 500-megawatt nuclear generator. And this is the type of thing we need on a worldwide scale to harvest that energy, that electrical energy, and distribute it to the public. So these are the things that have to be done, but you have to understand the energy industry is doing everything it can to keep this myth of alternative energy going while they dominate with coal, oil, and nuclear. And I'm really happy that Joyce has her next guest up, because the Fukushima situation is an absolute disaster, and the government is not doing anything about it. Well, anyway, that's a whole other issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Don in Missouri, and thank you for the answer, sir. Let's go to Gloria, final caller in New York. Gloria, final caller in New York. You're on the air with Professor McCanney.
Okay, thank you. You know, about the giant telescopes above the Vatican, those people, they don't care. They're doing that for themselves. They don't care about us. They will never warn us of anything. This is so they could save their own reptilian skins if they see something coming. But another thing I wanted to know, you were talking about the blue planet or the blue comet. What should we be doing? I'm worried about that. Should we be worried? And I'll take the answer off the air. God bless you all. Bye.
Thank you very much, Gloria. James, your response?
Comet Ison, the Comet Ison is very far away. It's not something that's going to directly affect us. Like I said, the January 14th date I predicted, we could get some severe weather at that point due to not just Ison, it's an electrical alignment, Jupiter, Ison, Earth, New Moon, and Venus. But no, we have bigger fish to fry out there. But Comet Ison, in the 5 comets we see right now in the solar system with small equipment, are not Earth disaster type comets. These are just small comets. So don't worry about all the hype you see about those, because there are some cases that we may see in the future. I don't have a definite time or date, but obviously NASA has a lot of this data that they're hiding. But Comet Ison is not a direct threat to us.
All right. I want to thank you, Professor McCanney, for joining us in the Power Hour today. An excellent show. Thank you so very much. Nuclear physicist joining us on the Power Hour today. Thank you, James. We appreciate you very much.